Welcome to Before Brunch TV, a show where women are pouring into each other and then their glasses. I'm so excited to have two beautiful women here who happen to be mothers, and today we're talking all about motherhood. And so first of all, congratulations on a day out with your kids. Without your kids, a little mama moment, you get to get dressed up. So I want to start with, what did motherhood look like for you growing up? Like, what was your depiction of a mom?
I would say for me, my mom very much was that working mom. So she was really into her career, but then also, of course, balancing family. Her and my dad's partnership, was evident because there would be late nights for her. She was in event planning and marketing. So there were moments where it was like, okay, dad's doing dinner, and bedtime. But that really was kind of, what I wanted to model my career and my momhood after that experience of seeing her hustling, grinding, but then also still very much being, mom whenever we needed that. So that was it for me.
Yeah, similar experience with my own mom, but like I did see I saw single moms, I saw stay-at-home moms in my parents' circle, so we kind of got a little bit of experience with everything as far as motherhood goes, whether you're a working mom like my mom was, or people that stayed at home with their kids. So I kind of got to see different ways that it can be done, so that I didn't feel like there was a right or wrong way, because everybody seemed like they were doing it and it was working. So.
Yeah, I think growing up, I saw my mom worked, but on our street, I think my mom was the only mom that worked. And so everybody else had a stay-at-home mom. And I was like, are you supposed to work? You're supposed to stay home. And so, but that kind of led me to that drive of okay, I guess I got to get out and do my own thing. And so growing up, what kind of things did you see that your mom did or other mothers do that you're like, nah, I'm not doing that with my child? Or maybe, okay, I am going to do this with my kid.
I don't know. I think I saw more things that my mother did that I was like, that definitely worked, especially once I got older. Mm-hmm. I was like, yeah, that was the smart move. Where I saw other people's moms didn't exactly do it that way. And, as you get to be adults, you start to see oh, I see why my mom was doing it like that. So I think I saw more of that than the opposite. So I don't know.
I would agree with that. And one example that came to mind was kind of like that line of friendship and parent. Mm-hmm. And so with my mom, it was very much, I'm not your friend.
Exactly, same.
I'm not your friend.
Not your little friend,
no,
basically.
Not at all. But Jonna said, basically seeing a lot more of what now in hindsight makes sense as far as being a mom. But yeah, definitely the friend thing was the biggest takeaway that I see now, as far as I recognize the importance of that. Yeah. And seeing some moms and their kids' relationships and how that looks a little different because they want to be their friends.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
And I want to talk about the whole pregnancy experience and the birth experience. It's we all we've taken these pictures and everything looks so pretty and beautiful, but what was your pregnancy experience and your birth experience?
Well, my pregnancy experience was actually good. The birth, labor and delivery was not. I spent 4 days before I had my son in the hospital. And I had to go to 2 different hospitals. When you think you might die, you hear the statistics about Black women dying, and you're sitting there saying, this might actually be about to happen to me. I might not make it out of here. Mm-hmm. You guys are trying to kill me. Mm-hmm. But I did have a doula, and that was the best thing. She was Black as well. I picked a Black OBGYN, and once I got to the hospital where I ended up having my son, I had Black OBGYNs there too. So that helped. It made me feel more comfortable. Mm-hmm. But definitely having the doula there, she was, I don't know, I really don't know if I would have made it without her, but she was so knowledgeable, so that helped. And a lot of times people don't want to get that kind of help. They just think, I'm going to have my mom, and it's nothing wrong with having that family member. But my mom was like, I don't know anything about having children other than having you.
Right.
Get that lady in here that knows about this stuff and that's not going to let my child die. So that's what I want. I just want somebody in there with you that's not going to let you die. But my pregnancy was it was pretty, non-eventful, but yeah. Coming out, whole nother story.
My pregnancy, it was good too. It was a little bit of a challenge as well because I have 2 blood disorders. So off the bat, I was high risk, and unfortunately, that experience with the doctor was not the best because first time my husband even had an appointment, he was like, you guys shouldn't have kids. So I was like, we're kind of already pregnant, so don't know, why you would say something like that. But it turned out his jaw was wired shut our entire pregnancy. So he had to have a scribe. So I was like, okay.
Wait, your husband's?
No,
the doctor.
Oh. The doctor's jaw was
ironic.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was that challenge of being kind of concerned with different things. Also having to have chemo while pregnant. So that was a challenge, but I still was able to have a positive experience from it. And then labor and delivery, all natural, 19 hours. But again, it was very much, okay, let me just focus on what I'm doing. I definitely, if I get pregnant again, would like a doula. But just very much was focused. That was like the preparation that I did as far as when going into that, knowing that I wanted to have a certain experience. But it was good. It was crazy though, like how your body just,
isn't it? You feel like this is
goes through all these different changes and transitions. But it's so beautiful to know that like we have that power to sustain a life and bring it into this world. So it was cool.
My pregnancy was pretty chill. I was considered high risk because when I was in birth control, I got a blood clot. And so, like when you get pregnant, they say your body makes the same hormones. So I had to take blood thinners my whole pregnancy. So I had to give myself a shot every single day.
Oh, wow.
And then 6 weeks after I had my child. And so I was like, because they were like, look, number one, if you're on this, you might get a blood clot if you don't do it. And then number two, you're taking the blood thinners, you could bleed out on the table.
Oh my gosh.
And so I was just like, okay.
Wow.
So it's almost like either, both ways are kind of traumatic, but I had a black OBGYN who has been mine for like 10 years prior to. And so they had warned me like, hey, if you go into labor, like at a certain point, you might not be able to get an epidural because of the blood thinners. So I had already mentally prepared. I'm like, I'm gonna do this natural, and I got a doula. My line sister is my doula.
Nice.
And so that support, I will challenge everybody, get a doula, like, because they can coach you through. And so I had to be induced so they can control like the bleeding. And I did the natural, I had the Pitocin, all that. And woo, you talk about the worst pain of your life. You're like, oh my God, I can't do this. But the fact that your body can do this, it's so like amazing. But I want to talk about like what happens after birth. Everybody thinks you get to walk home, you have like this beautiful baby. Like, you know the kit, they give you the squirt bottle and the gauze and the witch hazel and the pads. Like,
and just send you off.
I know, and send you on, you're like, all right,
never use
my vagina's like ripped open, I got some stitches, like what do I do now?
I don't want to touch anything.
And I'm supposed to take care of this like child. Like, I know you can't poop for a couple days.
Like, scared too.
You're scared because you're gonna like burst something. So what was like when you got home with your child and you're like up around the clock and maybe trying to nurse, what was your first thought?
I just asked everybody, including especially my husband, because this is his son, the golden child or whatever. So he was very anxious about everything, even though he has a daughter. She's older. So he was very anxious about everything. And I just asked everybody, give me grace and let me take my time. So if it takes me 30 minutes to change a diaper, that's my business. I'm gonna take the 30 minutes and we're gonna be fine. If he pees on me or gets a little cold, it's fine. So I just said, everybody just, when I'm doing something, basically back up and give me my space. And everybody pretty much did, and that just gave me like a little bit of release of the pressure, because it was like when you take the diaper off, you're like, okay, I gotta hurry up and he's a boy, so then it's like, oh, he might pee on me, I don't want him to pee on me, then I want him to pee on himself, and you're just so anxious. So it's just like just giving yourself a little bit of patience and just asking everybody around you to also like just be patient with me, because I've never done this before.
Yeah, I was scared to death. I mean, that's keeping a human alive. Like, what? I can do that for myself, but you want me to do it for someone else too. But yeah, it was basically like just one day at a time. That was kind of the mindset. Same like with family. And I think when you have a good support system and they understand that, then it makes it a little bit easier. But I was just one day at a time. Let me just, this little moment, because I mean, people can give you advice and, you know, you can have those conversations, but every baby's different. And so, you know, not trying to freak out over this cry versus this cry, or, you know, the colic that a lot of babies get. So yeah, it was just, let me take this one day at a time. Let's slow walk this and just kind of go from there. So
yeah, I remember coming home, I think the second day, me and my husband looked at each other and like, where can we drop her off? Like this, it was so, because you know, you're so sleep deprived, and then you're trying to nurse, like your milk is trying to come in, and that's like hard, and your boobs hurt, and it's so painful. And then I remember, like, you know, like they give you all the steps when you leave the house. They're like, okay, because you still bleed, and they're like, okay, you're like making sure, like, is this normal? Do I need to call the doctor? Like so many things happen, and you're like so scared. It's really scary.
I'm having flashbacks.
I know.
Yeah, I know.
I thought of this one time where my parents came over, and I don't even remember what it was, but I got in the shower and I just started crying, and I was just like, I don't know, because your emotions are still, first they're one way when you're pregnant, then they're a whole different way after you're pregnant. So yeah, that was that's not an easy job.
Yeah. How did having a child change your relationship with your partner? Like, I definitely underestimated the fact, or the change that would happen within your marriage after having a child.
Ooh. I think it just made me and him like very laser focused. Like, look, we can't screw this up. If we need to go see a counselor, if we need to go to the church, wherever we need to go, whoever we need to talk to, we're gonna do it. I'm not going to screw my kid up. Like, I saw a meme the other day that said, don't be the parent that your child needs therapy from. Like, I don't want to be that. And if that means me and you need to go sit with a therapist, or you need to go to therapy, or I need to go, whoever need to go, we're going, because we're not going to, you know, screw this up. So I think that it just kind of like woke us up to like, hey, like, we got something else like to be focused on here. So it's not even about me and you now, but it does need to be about me and you now, because I don't want you to feel like only reason I care about you is because of our child. But was that like wake up call, like, you gotta get your mess together. You don't have any more time to play, because there's some little person up here that's looking to you that didn't ask to be here, looking to you like, whatever you guys do, not necessarily what you say, but what you do, I'm basically learning and I'm soaking in everything. So yeah, I think it kind of made us closer, because we were like, you know, really started working on any issues that we had. We were like, we need to work on it, let's work on it. So it helped in that way.
Yeah. And it's kind of same way as far as realizing like those areas of improvement. Like, okay, because again, child is gonna watch what you're doing as opposed to listen to what you're saying. And so, you know, communication definitely improved, because it wasn't, you know, you didn't want that tension or whatever it could have been to just kind of loom, but you wanted to have that conversation. I would say for us too, it kind of opened our eyes to like, how do we want to mold our daughter, you know, as far as the person and the woman that she becomes. So for me personally, it was a lot of self-reflection, like, what do I want her to see? But then as a couple with my husband, it was, how do we want her to view relationships and a marriage, and, you know, working through those difficult things. So it definitely drew us closer and just kind of made us aware that there are still some things that, which isn't a bad thing, but there are still ways that we can, you know, grow together, so that she can then say, have
Always
those
room for
tools.
improvement.
Oh yeah.
And you said something really important that I that self-reflection. And I think especially having a daughter, like, you really think about, okay, how I feel about myself is gonna come through in her. And like, so if she always sees like mom complaining about her weight or how she looks, like 100%. How is that gonna shape her identity? And obviously our kids are still very young, but still, I mean, that self-reflection has been really, it's almost like a little traumatized. You're like, oh my God, like, I need a little extra work, like, on myself.
I might need to go to therapy.
Yeah. I mean, I actually started going to therapy this year. I think having a child just really triggered some things in me, not necessarily bad, but I was like, oh, I need to like talk this through with somebody, and I think that's like okay.
Without a doubt.
And which kind of leads me into like that mommy, like the burden of being a mom. And I don't mean burden like in a negative way, but just the weight that moms carry. I think we make everything look so easy and so good. And while we have partners who help, I think there's still like an extra added layer of like, no, moms are expected to do this. So what are some of those areas that y'all feel like you still have to like extremely excel in as a mom, even though you have very supportive partners? Everything.
I know.
I think you just I automatically just feel like I don't have the time to myself. Like I don't even think about going places by myself. Like I had to coordinate being here. Like, okay, I have this at 2, I had to get my makeup done, and I had to make a plan so that he would be prepared, because he's not even thinking about it. If he has plans, he's like, I'll be back.
Yep. Oh my gosh,
I'm
why
like,
did they just
hey,
been do
so
that?
I can't just say I'll be back. You know, it's like, wait a minute, you didn't tell me. So like you as a mom, you do feel like the need that you are the main one that child
Meals,
is responsible
what time they need to eat.
Yes,
prepping the
right. He's not eating if I'm not home. He's
what
like,
have you
oh, I was
eaten
waiting for you to
today?
be here so you can make his lunch. Like,
yeah.
okay, but
It's so crazy to think that we do that, because you're right. Like when the men go out, it's like, all right, I'm gone. But like when we go out, you have to like, hey, this is what Ari's gonna have for breakfast. Here's her lunch stuff.
Right.
Here's a plate.
Nap
Here's
time by
nap time.
this.
Yeah, but like
Right.
men, when they go out, I'll be back. I'm like, well, you didn't tell me what she needs to eat, what she needs to do.
You know, you got it, and you do.
and you just do it.
Yeah. So of course you kind of like, well, I do have it. So I guess I understand why you feel that way. But
Yeah.
I've kind of tried to like pull back a little bit. So if I am doing something, if I am going somewhere, I'll still give the heads up, but it's not like laying it out so much, because I mean, as partners, you want to have that confidence that you can keep our child alive, you know, don't just feed them donuts, you know, but kind of stick with that routine that they're used to. So that's kind of what I've in the past couple of months, just like pulling back just a little bit and saying, you're a big boy, you've got it, I faith in you.
Try that one, notice.
No,
I mean,
just not fuss. Like if it's not the way that I would have done it, I don't ask any questions when I get back. I don't ask any questions.
Yeah.
I don't ask, when did he eat? Did he go to sleep? Well, sometimes I do ask, did he go to sleep? Because if he's acting different, I'm like, did he get a nap? Yeah, no, he didn't really get a nap. But I try not to like question or like, well, why did you do this? And you didn't cut the grapes in 3/4 like I do. I just, you know, don't even worry about it.
Like
Don't
sometimes
even worry
don't you
about
really want to like, I'm working on that. I'm trying to get better.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm just like, well, why did she like, what do you mean she didn't do this or that? But yeah, it's
I
so
wait till I get in the
hard.
shower, and then I be in the shower, and I'm like,
yeah.
but I don't let him know that. I just keep it to myself.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But that was something that I learned, is that you're gonna parent differently as long as that foundation is there and that's an understanding that's communicated. If you want to cut the grapes in halves instead of fourths, fine. Just make sure she doesn't choke. Right. Just make sure she's okay eating them. But that was a little hard, and I think that was that self-reflection of like, okay, don't be completely controlling, but let him, you know, kind of navigate so they can have their own, you know, relationship and bond.
And both of you mentioned just kind of like having that time maybe to yourself, or coordinating, having to, you know, even coordinate to be here. Do you feel like you can still have your own life, or do you feel guilty sometimes for like wanting your life, or maybe even wanting your old life back?
Nope, no guilt, none at all. Like no, because I don't want him to internalize that at all. I don't want to express like any resentment that you're the reason why I couldn't do blah 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 blah. Like if I have to drag him along with everything that I'm doing, like fine, he'll know nothing else but that my mom was always hustling. She was always out here getting it, and maybe that'll push him to be that type of person. But I don't feel any guilt. I'm like, I just don't have any room for it. Like I didn't wait too long to have a child, but it took a long time for me to have him. So I'm like, no regrets, no guilt. We just gonna do the best we can, what we got. And cause like I said, I just don't want that to ever come off on him, that I feel, those feelings that I'm dealing with. And if I did, I would go to therapy. I would have to talk it out, because I just don't want him to catch any of those vibes from me.
Yeah.
I had to kind of let that go. Got to a point where, you know, if I went to the store, I was trying to go in 30 minutes to an hour so I could get back, but it kind of, I guess, came around to, like, again, putting that confidence in my husband. Like, he's more than capable. If I didn't feel that way, then we wouldn't be together.
Right.
We wouldn't have gone down that road. And so just kind of like getting into that, like, hey babe, I'm going to do this, I'll be back, you know, and call me if you need anything. But yeah, I had to let that guilt go. And even like my own personal time, we're trying to, again, communicate more. So it's like, hey, this day I'm probably gonna have a little bit of me time from, you know, this time to this time, because we need that. We need that space, and not just as moms and wives, but husbands and fathers. We need that so that we can then pour out to everybody else that we have to pour out to.
Absolutely. I just had that conversation with my husband. I said we need to schedule our own like me time individually so we can still be like the best people we can be for our child. Like, you know, I just never underestimated like the fact of just walking up and down a Target aisle. It's like, you know, you I don't even have pets. I'm like going up and down the dog aisle, just like, because you're just like, oh, like this time, like without anybody, it's like, it's a little bit therapeutic.
Yes, I did it last night.
Right? Don't need a thing. And just in there, just up and down, just for that relaxation time. But I think that's important to be able to go out and do that. So do you think like, well, how important is it for you to still do what you love? Like, your passion, whether that's in your career or your hobby, how important is that to you? And maybe for other moms who are still trying to like get that back.
It's very important. And I think as having a daughter, it's even more important for me because I want her to understand that importance. That you can be the wife, you can be the mom, but don't forget about yourself. Because again, that's the only way that you're going to be able to give your best is if you know, feel your best and you're doing those things that make you feel that way. So I think it's extremely important that, you know, you hold on to, now, are my hobbies the same as 10 years ago? No, but still making sure that, you know, I am finding something that is just that little bit for me that, you know, makes me feel good. Yeah, it's important.
I'm like on the other, and especially because I have a son, so I'm also trying to show him that a woman's job is not just to take care of you. A woman's job is not that she just help you follow your dreams and cook all the meals and do all the cleaning and you know, whatever other
help bring you
that,
up.
Right, that typically sometimes that's what men are taught or they see or they feel. And my job as a mom is to like show him what he should be looking for and how also to treat a woman. So I don't want to not be going after my dreams and doing what it is I want to do, and that way he can see, you know, his dad supporting me. And then hopefully goal is that he'll emulate that, or you know, that he'll look for a spouse that is also like a go-getter and not be afraid of that or intimidated by, you know, a woman that's trying to be successful. I don't want him to feel like, oh, you know, you know, or my mom wasn't like that. Yes, your mom was actually like this more, and he's used to it and he's cool with it, and it's something he can admire. And I just, it's like the opposite thing as when you have the son, you're like focused from that angle.
Your last question: how has motherhood changed you?
It's made me patient.
She's like, I need a drink for that.
It's giving me patience that I never ever had. When I first went to my OBGYN for the first time, and she said, welcome to parenthood where you're no longer in control. And my husband started laughing. And at first I was like, shut up, you know. Then he was right. I mean, she was right, and he was right too, because he knew that was not my MO. Like I like to have everything organized. I'm a planner. I like to get things done, boom, boom, boom. And pregnancy and childbirth and being a mom, it teaches you are not in control. And even though, yes, that is my child, like he is his own person. So I can't control him. My job is not to try to control him. It's to mold him. It's to guide him. To let him do whatever it is he wants to do and be whatever it is that he wants to be, and just be the best at it. But I think it just taught me that you're not in control, so just be patient. It's gonna work out. Be patient with him, you know, be patient with my husband, be patient with myself, be patient with the grandparents. Like you just gotta, it just really taught me patience that I definitely didn't have before. But now I having it, even the people around me are like, wow.
Who are you?
I thought you were about to go, if he does something or whatever, they were thinking like, oh, how is she gonna respond? And then my mom was like, you were so patient with him. I don't even know. I don't think I was that patient with you when, as a mom. But I'm like, that's just one thing that I prayed for, and thank God he gave it to me so that I could just, not put that on him. So I think that's the one thing that I became more of as a mom, is patient.
Yeah, I would totally agree with the patience, and then also just like how you communicate. I think sometimes we don't give them as much credit being children as far as like how they receive something or how the way you say something, makes them feel. So in addition to that patience, being able to like understand, okay, let me say it this way so that it's still firm, it's still direct, but she recognizes it from a place of love and for, her betterment. It's not, to put her down or anything. So I would say that, because I see it then also in like other relationships where I'm like, okay, woosah for a second. And now I'm gonna figure out how to say this without, being aware of how the other person would perceive it or receive it. So
I think I've learned like that my way isn't the only way. I know sometimes we, especially as moms, you're like, nope, it's got to be this, and this. But now, like, if your grandparents watch them or like your in-laws watch them, you got to be like open, like, all right, baby's still breathing, she eating, even if she's eating like just rice or whatever it is that she's eating. And so you have to be like understanding, like, okay, it's okay, and not be so like stuck in that way. And the patience thing, that is key too. As kids are working there, she'd be like, why did I even do this? Why? Like, why did I do this? But I know. Just give me a morning
again, go to the shower.
Listen.
Just take it out in that shower.
Just give me 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
5 minutes.
Ladies, thank you so much. I really appreciate the open and honest dialogue. And, before we leave, I love a good word of affirmation. So I gave you a card. So if you want to read your card, what does your affirmation say? We'll start with you, Jocelyn.
It says, I'm a great user of my time and talents. I like that a lot.
Mine says, I am enough.
Ooh. And mine says, I enjoy my own company. So I enjoy my own company when we need that me time. Yes. As always, thank you, ladies, and thank you all so much for watching. And you can follow us on social media at Before Brunch TV for more episodes. We'll see you next time.